Hey friends, and welcome back to the final update for our Ravenous Swarm Lich. Our Ravenous Swarm Lich has kind of transformed into a temporary minions Lich, so we're using Ravenous Swarm, Summon Raging Spirits, and Living Lightning as our 3 minion types. So we go around, we summon all of those, and single target damage feels really good, but when it comes to mapping and clearing, it feels pretty slow and ponderous. Now that is a large part of the reason that I'm going to switch off of this build, but overall I'm pretty happy with how the build went. So a couple of updates for gear. We have a new scepter, which is great, and we crafted this on stream. And the way we did this is we got a magic scepter with +4 minion skills and attack physical damage. And then we hit it with an essence for the allies in your presence deal increased damage. And then we hit it with an exalt and desecrated the final suffix on here, and then a final exalt for the cold damage. So kind of just got lucky with the cold damage. And then the desecration was the attack speed increase. So really good scepter, very happy with it. The other increases that we've made are to the other gear pieces, and it is the helmet, rings, gloves, boots, and shield. The amulet we've had for a while, and the body and belt are both uniques that are giving us damage recoup as mana and damage taken 2 mana before life. So gloves and boots are just mana, energy, shield resistances, and boots are movement, speed, energy, shield resistances. We've got a little bit of stun threshold here, but it's not that big a deal. Our rings are really nice. So we've got huge flat mana and percent increased mana with resistances. Same here, huge flat mana, increased maximum mana, and mana regeneration. Now, before you go and try and look for one of these, my recommendation is that you just craft this. Alright, so really quickly I wanted to discuss how to make your own breach ring, because the prices that are being charged for this ring are kind of insane. So it's a little bit of a gamble, but it will save you a bunch of money. So what you want to do is you want to look for a breach ring with maximum mana of at least 165, and then 3 suffixes of whatever you want. I like resistances and increased mana regeneration rate, so this is about what I look for. And then you can search this and you find a bunch of 20 to 50 exalt rings that we can look at. Now the important thing here is the only thing that matters to us is that it has a high roll on any mana rolls and a good enough roll on resistances. So you want 3 suffixes that you like and the mana. The other 2 prefixes do not matter at all for this. So it doesn't matter what these 2 are, you're just going to use them. So here is one that we can go grab. Fire, cold, lightning, maximum mana, and accuracy rating. We're just gonna go grab that. Alright, so now that we've bought that ring that we found on the market, we have ourselves a couple of exalts, and all we want to do is max out the prefixes. So we have max mana, we have accuracy rating, we have an empty prefix, and we have 3 resistances. So all we're going to do is slap an exalt on there for the final prefix, and it does not matter what it is. We don't care about the accuracy rating, we don't care about the evasion rating, those mean nothing to us. If we keep one of them, great. We want the evasion rating over the accuracy rating, but for this it doesn't really matter. Now the last step in this is we are going to use a perfect essence of the mind. The way perfect essences work is they remove a modifier and add a modifier. Now sometimes this is random, because if it has room to remove and add whatever it wants, it can. So you want to make sure that all of your slots are filled up. We know already that maximum mana is a prefix. So because we know that maximum mana is a prefix, we know that it has to go in a prefix slot, which means this ring, because it already has 3 filled prefixes, must remove a prefix in order to add this prefix. So our suffixes are totally safe. It must remove a prefix, and we have 2 prefixes that we don't care about. So the hope here is that when we slam this with the perfect essence, that we get rid of either accuracy or evasion rating for the maximum mana, and we keep the flat maximum mana. So let's see if we get lucky, and we did. Even better, we got a maximum roll on that maximum mana, and we kept the evasion rating, which is T1. Alright, so now that we completed that step, all we're going to do is come over here to Ange, and we're going to trade for neural catalyst. Now we're going to need around 40 of them, so I went ahead and grabbed 45. I'm probably going to be doing this again later. So we now have a bunch of neural catalyst, and we have our ring, which has our mana and resistances, and all we're going to do is quality this all the way up to 40. Alright, so now we have our ring, which is fully qualitied and gives us a ton of mana and a ton of max mana, as well as a bunch of resistances. And if we go and look on the market, if I just look for the mana and max mana and any 2 of the resistances, because I can't find any that have all 3, you'll see that the minimum price is 2 divines. Now, there is an argument to be made that intelligence is better on our suffixes than just resistances. I like having a bunch of resistances, so make whatever decision you want that you think is best for your build there. Okay, now with that out of the way, I just wanted to go ahead and say that so that you don't go and waste a bunch of money on specific breach rings like the ones I have. You should craft them, have a little patience. It is a 66% chance that you replace the mod that makes the ring great for you. There is a chance that it replaces the flat mana. If it replaces the flat mana, you just have to go again later. So keep at it, you'll get it, but don't get scammed by people who are just charging crazy amounts of money for it. Alright, and that about handles our gearing. Now, one thing I want to note is something that I didn't finish and I wish was better is our shield. So we were going with spell skills because Living Lightning scales off of spells. However, if I were to do this again, I would want instead to have minion levels on here, which you can get on focuses now through desecration. So I would want minion levels, and if I can get it, I would like chaos res. Now, why would I want chaos res? So we are only at 53% chaos res. We could fix that with just runes, and if I were going to continue this character, I would absolutely do that. I would replace the rune here, and rune here with the chaos resistance runes, and we would be capped on chaos res. No problem. But why do I want chaos res? Well, here's the issue. We tried to go CI on this build, but we ran into a problem. So CI reduces your maximum life to 1, but you are immune to chaos damage and bleeding. Now, normally, this is a huge benefit to energy shield characters, and the reason it is a huge benefit to energy shield characters is there is a ton of things like this all over the tree for energy shield. Ailment threshold is equal to 20% of your energy shield, and stun threshold is 20% of your max energy shield. So this is huge. What this means is that you are harder to ignite, shock, and freeze, and stun, because those things are naturally based entirely on your maximum life pool. So your maximum life pool determines entirely what your ailment and stun threshold are. Nodes like this are found everywhere for our energy shield, and so we can change to a purely energy shield build without too much issue. You don't really notice the stuns and ailments increasing. In fact, you probably notice less stuns and less ailments because maximum energy shield can be scaled so much higher than life. Now the problem is nothing like this exists for mana. So because we are an entirely mana build and we have Eldritch Battery, it means we have no energy shield. And if we go Chaos Inoculation, we have no energy shield and our maximum life is 1. Which means that our stun threshold is based off of 1 HP, and that's it. Which means we get stunned by everything, all the time. So, we tried to see if we could work our way around this using things like charms. It wasn't quite enough. It still felt really bad to get stun locked and frozen or ignited all the time. So what we've done instead is we've taken off CI, we've built a little chaos resistance, and it feels way better. Our stun threshold is still going to be low because of our low life, but it is so much better than getting hit with chip damage and getting stunned every single time. Other than that, we've continued the theme of picking up a bunch of minion damage. We've also picked up some presence AoE, which has been a huge help on the build. This is incredibly impactful. I didn't realize how good presence AoE would be, but do not skip out on this. This is huge. And then finally we are going up through here and finally going for Right Hand of Darkness, which is going to much more consistently, hopefully, apply Wither to our enemies. Alright, so let's take a quick look at what this build looks like in mapping. So for this we've got chilled ground, movement, attack speed, and extra lightning. Alright, so as we're mapping, all we're going to do is lay down a bunch of firewalls and summon all of our Raging Spirits. Again, Raging Spirits are the majority of our damage. So that's going to be how that works. Throw down your Wall Lightning every now and then to summon your Living Lightning, and proceed through the map. Now again, we are very slow while mapping, which is a little unfortunate. Alright, so we found ourselves an abyss. These are really annoying. There we go. Alright. This. And we do have a little bit of help from our Ascendancy for clear, and it's in the form of explosions on cursed enemies in our presence. So one of the big benefits of getting increased presence AoE is we have a larger area where we can explode enemies that we've cursed. That has helped a ton in mapping. Again, still leaves a lot to be desired as far as like competing with actual clearing builds, but we get the job done. Okay, so build up boss. For spear guys, just stay a little back, unless you can get around them when they do the spear attack. And we're good. Alright, we found the boss.
Your corpse will feed the new tomorrow.
All we do for the boss is throw down all of our Raging Spirits, throw in our Living Lightning, and watch.
The Savior is precious. He is all that matters. Your time is shorter than you think. Shut up. My flesh is
And done.
unimportant.
Okay, so overall, my thoughts on the build are this. The build has a lot of potential. I do think Ravenous Swarm needs some help, especially in the case of movement speed. I think if Ravenous Swarm moved faster, they would feel a lot more impactful, because right now what they do is they slowly float over to anything in the range and attack it. In order to attack it, they have to be on top of it. They literally have an attack range of 1, so they need to be on top of whatever they're attacking, which thematically really cool. But because they don't move very fast, things can leave their range very, very easily. So what happens is a lot of the time what they end up doing is just chasing things. And so I don't think they feel impactful, mostly because they're just chasing things around, not really attacking. So I think movement speed would be the first thing that I think needs to change for Ravenous Swarm. The second thing is I do think their actual damage is less impactful than it should be. Now this could be on purpose, since there's not a whole lot of real cost to adding Ravenous Swarm into your build. I do think it's still underwhelming, but there is a strong argument to be made for if you're going to run Ravenous Swarm, you should really run Raging Spirit anyway, because they scale the same way, and Raging Spirit is a more reliable build. So, if you're playing a Raging Spirit build already, and you have not looked into Ravenous Swarm, I highly recommend it. As you're going to be scaling a lot of the same things you would anyway, so if you've got the room for 30 spirit, then you've got free damage. And I think that's kind of how I feel about it. I think if I had gone a more Raging Spirit focused build, I might have felt better when it comes to clear. If we had gone Infernal Legion with Raging Spirits, then our clear would probably feel a lot better. But that's not the direction I wanted to go. I wanted to try and go for a on-hit crit based kind of thing. And it kind of works. It works really well for bossing. It just didn't work out super well for clearing. So, because of that, and because this league seems to be very, very, very heavy clearing focus with Abyss, I kind of want to switch builds. Now, oddly enough, the build that I'm going to try is also on a Lich. But before I leave Ravenous Swarm where it is, I do want to say I'm actually pretty happy with how the build turned out. I think there's more that can be done here, and very possibly things that I didn't explore. And I do hope that they show some attention to Ravenous Swarm in the future, especially when it comes to movement speed, because I do think that movement speed is the key issue with Ravenous Swarm right now. So overall, pretty happy with the build. It performs well at T15s. It does well on all the boss fights. I've fought all the bosses on their first difficulty version. The build wipes them out, no problem. I've got no real worries on how they'll do in the higher difficulty versions. It'll take longer, but I'm not too worried about how much damage they do, since I think we can tank any one hit, just dodge. I did take out the Eternal Flame as well, and as long as I wasn't screwing up the skill shots, then it was fine. But yeah, overall very happy with the build. A lot of people ask about cost when they're looking at a build. So this was my starter, so you can start it with literally nothing. All told, I might have put 50 div into this. So a lot of these pieces are like anywhere from 20 to 30 exalts to 4 or 5 div, depending on what piece it is. So I think like my amulet was 3 div, and then I had to change the anoint. My focus I think was 3 or 4. My helmet I think I got yesterday for 2. This scepter was I think like 60 exalts, and then we crafted on it. So things like that, right? Those are the things you have to focus on. I think I got this Cloak of Defiance for 2 div. Now the expensive parts are going to be more on the side of things like Ulnitol's Embrace, which you do not need. It's honestly not a lot of our damage anyway. Again, Ravenous Swarm is about 1/4 of our damage, whereas Raging Spirits is 3/4. So Raging Spirits is most of our damage, and there's nothing wild going on here. So Ulnitol's Embrace is good, but if you don't have it, it's not going to hurt you. And just double checking all of my jewels. I don't have anything crazy on the jewels either, so yeah. I'd say 50 div should be more than enough to redo this build, if you're smart with your money. Alright, so you might be wondering, what are we doing for our next character? And once again, it is a Lich, and I'm trying to revive a build that I'm not sure is going to work, but I'm going to try it anyway. So, we're still in the leveling process. It's still very, very early, but we are trying to recreate a CorpseWade build. Now, why would I make a CorpseWade build? The main reason that I'm looking to make another CorpseWade build is because of 2 supports that bring back a lot of what was nerfed in the build last season. So, the first thing is Encroaching Ground support. And what Encroaching Ground support is it gives increased area per second up to a maximum of 100%. Which is very similar to what was taken away with the build earlier, when it got its area of effect reduced pretty significantly, because it used to get up to I think 160 was the max, and it got taken down and split in half to 80%. So that was a pretty significant debuff to the area of effect of the poison clouds. The maximum life scaling got cut from I think up to 30% to 10% period, and the clouds got limited to 6 clouds. Now the hope here is that we can use encroaching ground to get back the area of effect, and then scale the damage in other ways. Now the other thing that I wanted to look at and found is that there is a persistent ground support. And what this is it increases the duration of ground effects, but most importantly, it has that last line: ground surfaces created by supporting skills cannot be destroyed except by expiring. What that means is that gas clouds, in this case, can no longer be ignited. So all of our poison damage that we're relying on won't be suddenly taken away from us if there is burning ground somewhere. Now, right now, the damage on this is terrible, but I want to show you how good the AoE gets just with these two supports and no AoE scaling on the tree so far. So we have no AoE scaling on the tree and just these two supports, and we're just going to grab a couple of these and then make our clouds. And you can see how quickly our cloud gets to a pretty significant portion of the screen. Now, the damage leaves a lot to be desired, but hopefully we can scale that up. And the way we're going to try and scale that up is with spell damage and increased chaos damage from the Lich. Previously we did this by stacking poisons, so we could get like up to 8 poisons on the Pathfinder. I don't know how well that's going to work now because of the limited base damage of the poison. So instead of doing that, I'm going to try to scale the spell so the base damage that it's based on is getting increased. Now we're still going to go for maximum poisons. We're just going to focus a lot less on that and a lot more on getting spell increases. So things like this spell damage per 100 maximum mana, so that we can stack spell damage along with increases to chaos damage with our max mana. And then we'll come all the way down here and grab poison duration and +1 poison. With escalating poisons, that'll go up to 3 poisons, and that might honestly be where we stop. But yeah, the plan there is to kind of scale on a spell build instead of just a poison build and see how far that can take us. Now, I have no idea how well this is going to work. The other part of the plan is we are going to, yes, scale decompose. However, we're going to back it up with essence drain. So essence drain is going to be our single target, helping us take out big targets, and CorpseWade is going to act as our clear. No idea how well it's going to work, no idea if it's going to work, but we're going to try. So if you want to keep track of that build, be sure to stop by on stream on Wednesdays and Saturdays, and be sure to stay up to date on the YouTube channel, because that's where I'll be posting updates on the build as we go. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Fourth edict already burns for your world. Endless ravaging pain. Permanent suffering. Chasms of flame shall restore her glory. mountains of ash and chasms of flame shall restore her glory. Grave turmoil awaits you.